Hi, and welcome to WakeTV. I'm your host, Dara DeMai. There's a lot of things going on in Wake County, so stay tuned to hear more. Welcome back to Wake TV. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are key focus areas for Wake County this year and for many years to come. To help guide us along this path, the county has hired a new leader. His name is Danya Perry, and he is our new Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and we're so glad to welcome him to the show today. Thanks for being here, Danya.
Thank you for inviting me. Yeah. I appreciate it.
Well, you are part of Team Wake now. How is it feeling to be part of Wake County?
Really excited. It's been amazing, the reception. I've been blessed to be able to work with a lot of the leaders and folks in Team Wake since being at the Raleigh Chamber in 2018. But I'm really excited to be able to get to know a lot more of the folks here in this amazing organization.
Well, we are excited that you are part of our team. And, in this position, you're working with a lot of folks that you've actually worked with before. Mm-hmm. Not everybody, but a few. Mm-hmm. You're not new to working with Wake County, but just new to this role. So tell us how your previous role at the Greater Raleigh Chamber helped prepare you for this new role with us here at Wake County.
That's a great question, because I think every experience prepares you for the next, first of all, right? Because we take the best part, right?
Right.
At the Chamber, had an amazing opportunity to really get rooted into understanding this community. I've lived in Wake County since 1994.
Okay.
Started at NC State, graduated, and just stayed here. But I was doing statewide work, so I was all over the place. So I wasn't really familiar with all the nuances of the county and of the community. So, being at the Chamber and then transitioning to Wake County, I feel like I'm getting a really good understanding of the needs of not only our residents, but our servants as well, the folks within this organization that are trying to make sure that we provide the best opportunities for all of our residents across the county.
Great. And for some folks, DEI, as we abbreviate, diversity, equity, and inclusion, is a bit of a new term. So can you explain exactly what that means? Sure. And why it's important for us to focus on that?
Absolutely. Now, I will use this amazing thought leader's analogy to explain DEI. Her name is Verna Myers, and she says, diversity is being invited to the party, and inclusion is being asked to dance. Uh-huh. So think about it like that, right? Like that. So we talk about diversity. It's the diversity of thought, the diversity of ideas, diversity of gender identity, the diversity of ethnicity, all of the things that make us up, right? That makes up who we are. Mm-hmm. The inclusion is once you're at the table, is your voice heard? Do you have an opportunity for your voice to be raised? Do you have an opportunity to be a part of the process, to be a part of a decision making, or to have a part of the opportunity as well? Now, I'll add the E, which is somewhat of the harder part, and that's the messy work of diversity and inclusion. That's the equity. So using that same analogy, diversity is being invited to the party, inclusion is being asked to dance. I'll add that equity is, how do you get to the dance to begin with? How do you get to that party to begin with? What is your types of transportation to get there? Do you have a plan or a schedule to get there? Do you even know where it is? Do you have the address to get there? So equity means ultimately is, how do we remove a barrier or build a bridge to diversity and to inclusion? So that's the easy way of really looking at the work that we're doing and why it's important, because we don't have DEI. When you think about a diversity of ideas, a diversity of lived experiences, and those folks with lived experience are included, then our outputs, are going to look different, right? Our outcomes may not be as strong. They may not be as robust. They may not be as efficient. Right. There's actually a cost of doing business if we don't get this right.
Mm-hmm. I love that analogy. I've never heard that, and I think that's really smart. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, my pleasure.
Well, we know that for a long time, some of the DEI components really fell to more human resources side of the house. So what is the benefit of us really taking a step beyond and pulling DEI out of that mainly kind of HR piece of the pie and making it something that we focus on organizationally across the board, not just in hiring.
Absolutely. And, with HR and human resources and hiring, that's one of the easier places to really look at strategies to implement in relationships to diversity and inclusion. For us, we are looking at how do we move from compliance to culture. Right? How do we move from it being a checkbox to something that we live, breathe, and practice every single day? So it has to be something that cuts across every department, every function of our organization. It's not just an add-on, but it needs to be a part of our DNA, if that makes sense. And so being a part of our DNA means that we need to do audits of our practices at work, whether you're in emergency management, whether you're in law enforcement, whether you're in HR, whether you're in the county manager's office. It's thinking about and walking through the process of how can I attain more diversity in this space? How can I include voices that are not traditionally in the conversation? How can I raise the voices of our historically underrepresented populations on so many different fronts? And a part of that is once you identify your equity goal to get to D&I, that's something that is not going to be about just, we just did it, right? It's checked off. It becomes what we are and who we are and what we represent. And you can feel that when you walk in to an organization, that it's something that people are doing because it's, I'm doing it because I'm being monitored, to do it,
right,
versus something that we truly believe in and is just a part of our culture.
Well, we all want to be invited to the party, to use your analogy. We all want the address. So.
Absolutely. And NC State had the best parties, by the way, versus Carolina. Carolina had the worst. All right, I just wanted to throw that in there.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to ask you a little bit about the rivalry and where you fell.
Yeah.
So I think it's clear where your loyalties lie.
No Tar Heels here.
That's funny. Well, as the leader of all of our DEI efforts here at Wake County, what are some of the first things you're going to do to help us develop goals and then eventually meet those goals? Now, I recognize you're only a few weeks in, a few days, so there's a long way to go, and you got a lot of work in front of you. But where do you start? How do you do this type of work?
Well, to be honest with you, it starts with listening. I am going to go on and have been starting a listening tour to understand the cadence of the organization, to understand the experiences of our employees, to understand, the practice that have been routine, the policies that maybe were there when I got here to this job, right? And we've never done it differently because that's just how we do things. And so I want to hear all the nuanced stories, and that's going to help create the direction of a goal, whether we focus in on recruitment and retention, or do we focus on how do we support some of our employees moving up to middle management and providing and building capacity there, looking at supplier diversity. It's about doing a really good inventory and understanding the organization before you start saying, I have the answer.
Sure.
I want to get the answer from those, and also the buy-in from our larger community, right? I want them to also know the value add of this work, and that it's not about compliance again. And it's not about saying you're doing something wrong or you're inequitable in some way. I always like to make sure that folks know this, that well-intentioned people create inequities every single day. Okay. So knowing that, I do that, right? I have my own bias, right? I come in, I don't like Tar Heels, right? So so I have my own bias, right? So I have to figure out how do I disrupt or dismantle that bias to make sure we get to the best outcome. So a big part of that is listening, and then that's going to help along with what the amazing Wake Up Committee has already started doing, which is laying a framework to start talking about how do we move forward in this work. So I'm really, really excited about getting to the voices.
Good. And I'm sure people will give you a lot of information since you're so willing to listen.
Yes.
Well, you mentioned recruitment and retention, and that's something that I wanted to touch on with you as well. We're in the midst of what people are calling the Great Resignation.
Yes.
People are looking for more flexibility, more freedom, better work-life balance. And some, from what I've read, especially the younger populations, are looking for that cultural awareness. Talk about how DEI fits into this space where we are as a kind of global community, and how being an employer who's focusing really intently on DEI efforts, maybe that can help us in the long run keep our talented people and recruit additional ones.
That's right. It's interesting because maybe 6 months ago, I facilitated a panel with some Gen Zs, and had an opportunity to hear. I'm Gen X, by the way, so
Same here.
I'm distant from the Gen Zs, right? And so these are young folks that are in college, about to enter the workforce, and asked them what was a value proposition for them in terms of where they were going to share their gifts and share their talents. And from their perspective, they talked about, and this is not my adage, right? This is theirs. They said it was meaning over money. So it's the meaning of the organization, how meaningful that organization is to enrich me. How meaningful is that organization in working with the community at large? What's the purpose and the mission alignment of that organization? Does it truly look like me when I walk in there? Does it align with my belief system? And so it's interesting because if that's the value proposition and we're seeing the evolution of it, we have to think about DEI is really about culture building and bringing and building a welcoming organizational climate. And that part of the retention strategy, I think it's just as important as any other strategy that we can employ. And listening not only to our Gen Zs, but also listen to our Gen Xers, listen to our baby boomers and saying, listen, what worked well? What was the driver for you to stay here, when you first started? And how was that changed? What becomes another value proposition? So to me, we have to be a continuous learning organization. And we have to be, the same way that COVID has made us listen. COVID has made us, that P word made us pivot. It has made us flexible. And some of the things that I don't think we would have been catapulted into without, dealing with crisis like that. Right. So I think it's an opportunity for us to be able to use this construct of DEI to make sure that we have organizational empathy, to make sure that we're listening to the needs of our employees, to make sure that we are building bridges to make sure everybody has an opportunity to be able to meet all of their own professional needs.
Well, thank you so much, Danya, for being with us.
My pleasure.
We're so excited for everything that you're starting to do and everything you will do for this organization. It really is going to take us to new places and help everyone feel connected and develop that culture that we want here at Wake.
Absolutely. I'm excited.
Me too. Yeah. Thank you so much for being on Wake TV. And if you'd like to learn more about what the county is doing in terms of expanding its diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts and trying to prohibit discrimination in our community, please go to wakeof.com/news.
Each year between October and March, the Warmth for Wake program brings volunteers together who chop up firewood and deliver it to those who need it most all over the county. Weather permitting, volunteers meet every other Saturday throughout the winter to chop and deliver firewood. In addition to firewood delivery, Warmth for Wake also distributes new and gently used space heaters to residents in need. If you'd like to learn more about how you can help, please visit the website on your screen.
Hi, I'm Teresa Furr, District Director of the Wake County Soil and Water Conservation District. Each year we recognize great people working to protect our county's water quality, farmland, soil health, wildlife habitat, and environment. We were unable to hold the annual awards banquet this year due to COVID-19 restrictions, but we still wanted to take this time to celebrate these deserving students, residents, businesses, and farmers who partner to educate and preserve our natural resources. This year's recipient for the Farm Family of the Year went to Donald Ryan Broadwell of Broadwell Farms. We caught up with Ryan planting a cool season cover crop on one of the fields he farms. Here's our elected supervisor, Scott Lassiter, with more on Ryan's achievements.
Well, we're out here today in beautiful eastern Wake County. My name is Scott Lassiter, and it's my honor to represent the million-plus residents of Wake County as elected Soil and Water Conservation District Supervisor. We're here with our District Director, Ms. Teresa Furr, and of course our honoree here, Mr. Ryan Broadwell. So, Mr. Broadwell is being presented with the plaque this year, and he and his family are the Farm Family of the Year. And This family has been farming in Wake County for 5 generations. I heard earlier today, well, it may have been 6. We're not quite sure, 5, 6. But they've always gone the extra country mile to implement conservation practices that protect and conserve the natural resources of their farm. Broadwell Farms, it's a prime example of a well-maintained and thriving family farm. After graduation from East Wake High School, Ryan Broadwell, he attended North Carolina State University, go Pack, and earned degrees in both agricultural business management and ornamentals and landscape technology. He began farming on his own in 2006 with just 40 acres of cropland in production. Over the last few years, Ryan, he's continued to expand the family farm to over 350 acres today. Currently, Broadwell Farms is growing soybeans, corn, wheat, all of that right here again in eastern Wake County. So in addition to farming, Ryan Broadwell serves as a first responder for our community. So I want to take a moment and say thank you for him in that capacity. As a Cary resident, he serves our town of Cary as a fire captain, and he's been serving the citizens of Cary as a firefighter in some capacity for 17 years. Ryan has been a longtime supporter and advocate of soil and water conservation and conserving the heritage of Wake County agriculture. He served on the USDA Farm Service Agency County Committee for 5 years, among other things. So this is a man that's busy for sure. Ryan believes in locally led conservation and that important work in local soil and water conservation districts provides real protection to the natural resources and for future generations. He demonstrates this belief not just through his service on boards and in an administrative capacity, but in the way that he manages this farmland right here. Ryan contacted the Wake County Soil and Water Conservation District for assistance with installing conservation practices on his farm, and the conservationists on our staff provided Ryan with a conservation plan to install cover crops, grass waterways, field borders, and convert to a long-term no-till crop rotation system to reduce soil erosion, nutrient runoff, and improve the overall soil quality of his farm. To date, Broadwell Farms has installed over 350 acres of conservation practices aimed at conserving and protecting both soil and water resources. They've installed over 200 acres of cool season cover crops, 350 acres of no-tillage conservation crop rotation, grass waterways, and field borders. The time, the effort, and the commitment that Broadwell Farms has put into conservation efforts on their farms it's been incredible. Their dedication to the stewardship and protection of farmland is going to provide endless benefits of water quality improvements for the citizens of Wake County and hopefully serve as an inspiration for others to do the same. Broadwell Family Farms, we applaud your outstanding efforts and commitment in the great stewardship of our land and water resources. The Wake Soil and Water Conservation District Board of Supervisors is proud to proclaim Broadwell Farms as its 2021 Conservation Farm Family of the Year. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
Congratulations, Ryan.
Thank you, Teresa.
Job well done, buddy.
Thank you.
Like to say anything?
I really appreciate it. It's an honor and a privilege to receive this award, and I look forward to working with Soil and Water in the future.
This year also featured our first Board Member Emeritus Award. Manley Wilder, who has decades of soil and water conservation service, was named our first Board Member Emeritus. Starting in 1961, Manley has served on the state and federal conservation partnership level, and for the past 7 years, served on the board of the Friends of the Wake Soil and Water Conservation District. We spoke with Manley after he received this first of its kind recognition.
Well, I'm not sure I'm worthy of any award. All I've tried to do over my last, 43 years of public service at the federal level and at the state level is just try to give back some of the things that, I was fortunate enough to be beneficial of. And when Don asked me to be a member of the Friends, I said, yes, I would help out. And I did for, as we said, maybe the last 7 years. So it means a lot for, when your peers recognize you for some of the things you've done. It does mean a lot because, I'm getting to be an old man now. So you have to look back to our contributions in your past. And hopefully you've made some contributions that'll help the future and the young people coming along and our citizenry coming along.
This year's Dan Wilkerson WRL Communication Award went to Allie Dinwiddie. Her bold leadership in communicating statewide, up-to-date conservation information set the standard for the Central Piedmont region. Here's Allie with more on what this award means to her.
I work with soil and water districts across the state, and it just means a lot to know that the contributions that I'm making with working with soil and water districts are appreciated by Wake District and other districts across the state. But it is really wonderful to get the Conservation Communication Award from this district. I know that several of the previous recipients of the award are great individuals and groups, so it's really humbling to be in their company for those past recipients.
Our Distinguished Service Award recipient this year is Nirvana Crew. Elected as a board supervisor for the Wake County Soil and Water Conservation District in 2018, Nirvana is the first Black woman to be elected to this position. Fellow board member and board vice chair Jenna Wadsworth spoke with Nirvana following her award presentation.
Good afternoon. My name is Jenna Wadsworth, and I am proud to serve the people of Wake County as the vice chair of the Soil and Water Conservation District Board of Supervisors. And I am elated to have the honor to present to my colleague, Nirvana Crew, my soil and water sister, as I affectionately call her, an award today for her distinguished service. Earlier this year, Amanda Gorman stood on the steps of the U.S. Capitol building at President Joe Biden's inauguration and delivered a moving poem entitled "The Hill We Climb," in which she said, "For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it." Since Nirvana Crew's election to the Wake County Soil and Water Conservation District Board of Supervisors in November 2018, Nirvana has been this bright light, bursting with energy she has channeled for the greater good of the people she was called to serve. She has made so many significant contributions to natural resource conservation at all levels, even during a global pandemic, resulting in tremendous and wide-reaching benefits to all soil and water conservation districts, the broader conservation partnership, the agricultural community, and perhaps most importantly and a little closer to home, the citizens of Wake County. Nirvana understands why this work is of critical importance, not just at this time, but for the future we hope to build and see the generations after us inherit. She knows, as I and so many others who give of our time and service to this board, that building a more just, sustainable, and equitable future for all North Carolinians is possible through reforming our state's agricultural industry. She knows intrinsically that the path to progress means forcing all of us, even those who may be less open to change, to come to terms with the social, economic, and environmental justice implications of public policy governing agriculture. You see, visibility matters, and so does representation. It's no secret that there are very few women or people of color holding leadership positions in this space. As a Black woman elected in the state's capital county to serve on a board overseeing a traditionally male-dominated field, and moreover, as the first Black woman to be elected in Wake County to the Soil and Water Board, she expanded possibilities and opened doors for others who could now see themselves engaged in this important work. Nirvana's election and her service are historic. She broke a glass ceiling, and that alone is something that we should all be celebrating. More impressively, Nirvana used her position of power and her platform to advocate for others. At the local and regional levels, she has led the Wake District in establishing a voice for diversity and inclusion for all conservation programs in the Wake Soil and Water District office. And during her tenure, she has encouraged the Wake District staff and her fellow supervisors to achieve high standards for professionalism and quality of work as public servants to the folks who call Wake County home, always pushing us to do better and to be better. She has always prioritized funding environmental education programming and inspiring our budding environmental stewards through her focus on Wake County's youngest residents. I know that her beloved son, Randall, was a keen inspiration in her campaign to serve all people in our county, even those who are too young to vote right now. She understands deep in her bones what is at stake if we as elected officials don't do right by those who will come to lead and serve after us, left to right the ship if we don't keep it on course and moving forward. That's a legacy she can be proud of, and it is one that will endure for a long, long time. While we're disheartened to see her leave the board and accept a new role pursuing justice and equity for North Carolinians, especially those who have been historically marginalized at the ballot box and beyond, this is not the end of the road. I can take heart in that because I will miss you more than you know. And even as this new chapter begins for Nirvana, she will continue to serve as an associate board member who lends her extensive experience and expertise and influence to the Wake District in our mission to meet the agricultural and urban conservation needs for our over 1 million county residents. So, Nirvana crew, my dear sister, we at the Wake County Soil and Water Conservation District thank you for your exceptional and distinguished service. We're overjoyed to present you with the 2021 Distinguished Service Award. We appreciate you, we thank you, we love you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Would you like to say anything?
Thank you. That's all I can say right now because I don't want to cry on camera. But thank you. It's been an honor. It's been a pleasure serving the people of Wake County. And as Jenna stated, I might be gone for now in this elected space, but I will be still actively involved as an associate board member. And you have not seen the last of me. I'll still be around.
Finally, we presented the Environmental Education Partnership Award to Novozymes North America, the BC Rayner Friend of the District Award to Alter State Crabtree Mall, and selected our top 3 winners from more than 100 submissions for our annual 4th and 5th grade conservation poster contest. To learn more about our work in soil and water conservation, our awards, and this year's recipients, please visit wakegov.com/soil-and-water. Thank you.
Each year between October and March, the Warmth for Wake program brings volunteers together who chop up firewood and deliver it to those who need it most all over the county. Weather permitting, volunteers meet every other Saturday throughout the winter to chop and deliver firewood. In addition to firewood delivery, Warmth for Wake also distributes new and gently used space heaters to residents in need. If you'd like to learn more about how you can help, please visit the website on your screen.
Get the timely and accurate information you need to stay safe if there's an emergency in your area. Sign up for Ready Wake alerts and Wake County will send you important notifications by text, phone, or email, whichever way you choose. Whether it's severe weather, a missing person report, or a neighborhood evacuation, stay in the know with Ready Wake alerts. Learn more and sign up at readywake.com.
It was important for me to lead as an example, and it was also important to me for the safety of our community.
That's all for this episode of Wake TV. Keep up with all the latest Wake County news by visiting us online at wakegov.com/news. And be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube so you can always stay in the loop. We'll see you next time.